if the crop dies. So because it's going to be very dry over the next few days, which is what, 2/3 of summer, there is the chance we could lose some crop before harvest due to lack of moisture. We could actually check on that too. That one, drought resistance, we have, oh, that's going to be interesting. We have triticale, which is medium. It has a very low drought resistance at the stage it's at. What else did we have? Sunflowers. That's up from there. Sunflowers, actually we should, it's a low moisture, but it's, I don't know that we'll have much risk on our sunflowers, even if the if the drought does does look like it's happened. The big problem is our potatoes and our sugar beets, which have no drought resistance at the point they're at, and a very low drought resistance as they mature. That's the downside. The upside of beets and potatoes is they you can harvest them when it's raining. So yay for that, because that's possibly something we're going to have to contend with. So what else were we talking about? So yes, we're using Seasons Precision Farming and Maize Plus. So that's the only game rule changing things that we have going on. I tend to always play with Seasons. I prefer Seasons. It meters out the game. I find in the base game it's a churn, because okay, I need to plant everything. Oh, now I need to harvest it, or fertilize it. Now I need to harvest it, and as soon as I'm harvested it, my rush is to get more crops in the ground, because the quickest way to make money is by growing stuff, and if a field is sitting with nothing in it, it's not making you money. Now, playing with Seasons is not like that. I can't plant anything until the temperature is high enough, and so if it's what are we using, Fahrenheit, so if it's 28 degrees, I can't plant anything. I can't even plough the ground, so that it's an enforced slowdown at that point. I can't do anything because it's just too cold or too wet or whatever. And then once it's warm enough, there's a mad dash to plough the fields, wait till the temperatures are warm enough for the seeds, and then plant the seeds. And then you can take it easy again. So this point of year, the only thing that we're actually dealing with is grass product. The fields are all planted. They're all totally fertilized. They're all looking after themselves. And the next thing I have to do on all of our arable fields is take a harvester out and pull the crop out. It also allows me, in the winter time, I can plough in the fall, and then I can you missed a pile there, how sad. And then I can plant oilseed radish, which in the base game I really don't see the point in planting oilseed radish. It's a very efficient fertilizer, but it grows slower than everything else, and the time it takes for the oilseed radish to grow is time that my field's not making money. It might increase yield once I plough it in, but it's delayed income. And it's no big deal for me to grab a sprayer and run around the field and spray the field, and we're done. So that's my general feelings on things. But yeah, I guess, well, we'll make a decision on field 3 come fall. Right now, obviously, we've settled on our grass handling equipment. I'm probably going to bump the bank balance back up by about 250,000 because we lost that buying equipment and selling equipment that we just ended up not using. No, not that much. I mean, obviously, we got the big square baler. I'm going to have to look at, okay, where's the bank balance? So, we've effectively spent 270,000 on new equipment. I suppose I should add up how much the equipment cost us. So, if we go to baling technology, we bought that 50. We bought that another 50, so that's 100. That's 250. I don't know, maybe we do have enough money. Maybe I won't play with the money. Try and nudge this bale sideways. Oh, there we go. We got that one. So that's all the bales wrapped. We're done with the wrapper, and I don't need the baler for the rest of today. What we are going to need to do is get, yes, baling technology. No, not even a tedder. Okay. 6 meter, 8.7, 13, 4, 8.9, 11.2. Let's have a look at the mowers, see how wide they are. Mowers, just above the tedders. We are using this one, 10.2. Oh, tedders are just the big giant thing that hangs off the back of the tractor. They're not actually that expensive. So I could go for this one. We could go for, basically what we're looking at is almost a Cumberland kit. Yeah, mowing kit. Apart from the class square baler, because we don't get a Cumberland square baler in that pack. So I don't need the wrapper anymore. I'll take this back to the farm. Actually, I think I might get the class to follow us while it's here. No. No, seriously, dude. That's better. Okay. So, we'll take these back to the yard because A, we don't need to bale anything. And we're not wrapping any more clover this cut. And as I was saying, I don't expect another cut until sometime in the fall with the clover. Grass you can cut twice. You can do a full length cut twice and I don't know whether it's 66% or 75% cut as either the first or the third generally. When I'm doing grass, I'll wrap spring because we tend to have moisture in the mornings, obviously early morning dew, which doesn't allow the grass to dry out to make bales or to make hay. During summer I tend to make hay, and then come fall I'll usually wrap the grass again, because in the fall there's a lot of rain events. So I don't need the spiky dudes at this point. Where did I put the collection wagon? I did buy it, didn't I? Okay, is the... yeah, there's the class. So, turn off the follow me. This shed on the right here is very, very inconvenient, I would say. Oops. Just because, yeah, there's not a lot of clearance. Oh, I was planning to move the seeds up here because it was probably easier to put them in there. This was going to be end up as my consumable shed. I'll put the wrapper and there's again I'm not sure the baler's short enough to fit in here. Seriously. So I can put this on even a big tedder. This tractor will have no problems with. That's the big giant pickup thing. So, tedders, I am going to get the big Cavernland. It is a Cavernland, it has no options. And I'm really not worried about how much that's costing us, because we have made a ton of money on... where's the store? There. Ah, I'm not zoomed in enough. There we go. And we'll have the store deliver that to us. Yeah, I mean, since I started, we've gone through the entirety of spring and we have made well in excess of £300,000 pounds just on contracts. So once we're done with the Clover here, I'm really not concerned that, oh, it's going to take us, yeah, we're not going to have any money left. So no, once we've mowed the Clover, on the next field it's going to be mowed, it's going to be tedded, we'll leave it until it becomes Clover hay. Then we'll have to windrow it. I don't have a windrow, I'm going to have to buy one. But they're not particularly expensive. We have the baler, we have the bale collection wagon. So, yeah, we've got 90% of the equipment we need for the rest of this particular harvest. Grief. It's a little bit tight here. I have actually driven on this crop as well. Maybe I should bring a mower down here and mow out this track. And this is where the weird... I don't know what's going on with this map, but that patch of ground doesn't grow. I think we've had a UFO event. Yeah, just on the edge there where our sugar beets. I came from the other direction and I dragged some implement I was hauling across that corner and oops. This track I put in myself, but it does give us access to our Clover field, which I wouldn't otherwise be able to access. And we'll park this just here. And go find something. Oh, there's our tractor. So I think since we're up in this neck of the woods, I will grab the bale collection wagon. And I'll take it back down to the field where our mower is. Yeah, this is too long for this, but I will leave that there for now. Ugh, drop. I might use the big shed with the door on the right for our grass equipment. But I'll probably end up using the Lindner to put stuff in there since it's four-wheel steer. See, that's the other thing I could do is I could get a JCB, because they, at least the smaller one, has four-wheel steering and it's probably a little bit more handy because you can use it for field work. That Lindner is really limited to mostly yard work. We use it for feeding, but I'm strongly considering a telehandler for that activity as well. Okay. So yeah, one of the advantages with using seasons is equipment doesn't cost you anything until you've used it for an hour. So you could basically have a trial period for having a piece of equipment. I could sell this trailer now and I would get all of my money back. But if I drive it around for over an hour, then depreciation sets in and I'm never going to get back what I paid for it. So all things like the fast bale and the round pickup trailer, they're not, we should have got all the money we spent on them back because they just didn't work per the game rules. So don't run over the little sheep. Hi, little sheep. Those sheep look like round bales that you forgot to pick up and the grass is regrown. Okay, turn that off. I'm not going to collect the bales right this minute. I'm going to take this tractor. Oh, I could look at the... so what was the final yield on that field? Zoom out. There we go. So this field here is field 5. So I think we were saying we got about 85, 90 over there. Ooh. And 80 in the corner. 95 on this corner, and then everything else I think was about 115, 110. So that's not actually that bad considering how horrendous our nitrogen levels were on this field. The nitrogen is now down to 100. 100 of 80, 120 of 80. And we lost, it was at 160, 140. So the fact that it's now down to 100, 120 does mean that next time we cut it, it should drop the nitrogen levels to Clover ideal. At which point, after the first cut next year, so this time next year when we do the first cut, we are going to have to add some fertilizer to that field to keep the yield up. and then probably in the fall, once we've cut it in the fall, I might need to add some lime in order to get the pH back up. But it's not a complete disaster. The problem with the I didn't realise clover is a very low nitrogen requiring crop, and so yes, welcome to the stream, and thank you for the follow. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. And I did hear someone else do earlier. Let me go back and check. Okay, CJ Fungi did a follow, and thank you for that. Sorry I missed. I heard the alarm. I didn't notice the words coming up. I'm sorry I missed you at that time. So, yeah, what was I saying? I have completely lost my train of thought. But, yes, so we're going to get... Yeah. Oh, it was the... What happened was both of the fields I now have clover in had grass in. So I mowed them, which obviously adds a level of nitrogen to them. And then I put down slurry on every single one of my fields. Now, because they already had grass in, and when you cut grass, it adds to the it adds fertilizer state to a field. I ended up with a lot of nitrogen on those fields, and unfortunately, clover doesn't need that much nitrogen. So that was kind of a big fail on my part. Turn that on. So we are going to end up with some grass. So, yeah. Why is... Oh, okay. For some reason, the rear mower's turned off. There. So that's why we've ended up with less than ideal nitrogen levels on our clover fields for this year. Now, all of my other fields, I planted, or I ploughed where they needed it, I cultivated where they needed it. They didn't have any existing crop on them, so I added slurry, and when I planted them for the most part with seeders that also added fertilizer. So for things like, I think it's the sunflower, there was no additional fertilizer added because sunflower also doesn't need much in the way of fertilizer. But the clover I just screwed up because there was already grass there, so I ended up with more fertilization than I actually needed. So it's good to know how much nitrogen your crop needs, and going forward, I think, as I said, sunflower doesn't need a lot in the way of nitrogen, so I'm not going to plant oilseed radish, and I'm not going to plant or I'm not going to put down digestate on fields that I plan to add nitrogen to next year, because whatever's in the field at the moment, so for example, field next to us, triticale, it's a cereal. It needed a lot of nitrogen to plant it, or to make it comfortable. And if I plant, and when I harvest it, that nitrogen level is going to drop slightly, which is fine, but obviously it's not going to reduce it by significant amounts, and if I plant sunflowers in that field, I still risk having too much nitrogen content for the sunflowers, and thus a lower yield. But I probably will never need to fertilise a field that I plant sunflowers in if I keep the rotation right. Now, the fields that I've planted sunflowers in this year are probably going to end up with a cereal crop in next year. Cereal crops tend to be high nitrogen requirement, so as soon as the sunflowers have been harvested, we will be putting in oilseed radish, because that's going to give us a nitrogen boost, at least I expect it to. And then we're probably also going to add slurry to it, and then we're going to plant the crop and see how deficient we are on nitrogen for the crop that we end up planting. But we should end up using very, very, very small amounts of fertilizer if we're doing the rotation right. We might find that after some crops, planting sunflowers is completely unrealistic and we have to plant canola instead. So long as it's an oil seed, it doesn't matter. So the example there is, and I haven't planted canola this year, so I don't know what the nitrogen requirements of canola actually is. But I'm assuming it's less than sunflowers. I'm hoping it's less than sunflowers, or we might have a problem. But for example, something like corn. Corn needs a 200 kilos per hectare, or whatever it is, of nitrogen. You harvest corn, you're down to be 160, and that is still way more than sunflowers are happy with. So you're going to end up with a horrible yield for the sunflowers if the previous crop was corn. I might jump out and see. Why am I... I'm an idiot. I do not want to work mode 15. Swath, right swath, widespread. Remember I said this field was going to be hay. And of course with hay, I don't want swaths, I want big wide areas so that the stuff dries out. Well, we fix that. So yeah, as soon as we've finished on this one, I'll park the tractor out at the entrance to the field again. And we'll run over to the triticale and see what its current nitrogen levels are. And we'll kind of make a guess at what they'll be next year. Missed it. Well, we messed up as we messed up, but this is okay. Now, the thing I do like about Oxygen David's maps are, for the most part, these telephone poles aren't real. Now, you can pretend they're real, so I'm just going to swing around and go the other side. But they don't interfere with workers. Shape of the field sucks for workers anyway, but they don't interfere with workers. So that's kind of an advantage. I could be realistic and just drive around this telephone pole, or I could just drive straight through it. Hey, I'm going to drive straight through it because why not? However, these sections of trees, not friendly to workers or anything else. trees are real. But he does tend to put trees in the middle of a lot of his fields. But realistically, yep, that's a thing. This grass along the edge of every field is also a thing required by government for wildlife. So the field mice have somewhere to hide while I'm doing all this chopping up the ground for them. And the birds and all the rest of it. So the farmers have to keep a portion of their land for nature. So when we run over this with the tedder, we are going to spread a lot of this back out again. It's not going to be completely, but to a certain extent. There's going to be clover everywhere. As I said, I don't know if we have to ted this, or whether it's a time-based thing. Leave it long enough, it will dry out. And that's kind of what our bucket back at the yard may go some way to proving to us, because I just left it outside. I don't think clover has as many stages as grass does, so there isn't on this with the Maize Plus active. We have, what is it? If you cut grass, you can cut grass when it's wet, and it will be wet grass. So you have to ted it to make it grass. And then you have to ted it again to make it dry grass, and then you have to leave it for a factor of time, which is based on temperatures, wind speed, and what have you, the normal seasons rules, before you